Hello and welcome to another episode of Judge of Character. As always, I'm your host Steve, and what the hell's wrong with my picture? No, I didn't pay over $700 for a high-quality camera just so I could sit here looking like I'm in some sort of old-timey movie. No, I can fix this. Let's see. Oh, great. Red. Now it looks like somebody bled all over the place. Well, it kind of fits. I'm blue, dabba dee dabba da dabba dee dabba da. Oh, green. Now I can be the Hulk. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Hulk smash it. Yeah. One more time. Crap. Well, sorry folks, but it looks like we're stuck with the whole black and white look for right now. Though to be completely honest, it's not that bad. It could be worse. And it's actually kind of fitting, considering that tonight we're talking about a character who comes from a film that was made as a tribute to the sort of hard-boiled detective film noir films of the past. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're going to talk about the one, the only, Jessica Rabbit from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, now the color works. Anyway, Who Framed Roger Rabbit was a landmark film released in 1988 by Touchstone Pictures and Amblin Entertainment, and is considered to be the work that was largely responsible for starting the Renaissance age of animation that would follow soon after. Combining both live action and animation, the film took place in an alternate 1947 Hollywood, where cartoon characters, known simply as toons, lived and worked right alongside humans as a sort of ethnic minority. The plot involves the titular Roger Rabbit, a big shot in cartoons, getting framed for murder, and the private eye Eddie Valiant having to clear the toon's name, all while dealing with characters such as Roger's sultry wife Jessica and the villainous Judge Doom. The film became an instant hit with its intense story and well-written characters, not to mention the absolutely amazing effects. It also helped to spark a renewed interest in good animation and, as I mentioned, became one of the factors that led to the later Renaissance.
With a movie that good, and with such a wide variety of characters, some of you might be wondering why I'm doing an episode on Jessica as opposed to, say, Eddie Valiant, or Judge Doom, or even her husband Roger. Well, believe it or not, the answer comes from, of all places, a post on Tumblr.
While Tumblr certainly isn't known as a paragon of human goodness, it sometimes brings up some interesting gems. Case in point, this post where the user says that Jessica Rabbit is asexual.
This got me thinking about whether or not it was a valid point, which led to me thinking about the character in general, which brings us here. While Jessica Rabbit isn't going to be memorable for the same reasons as other characters usually are, she still has earned a place in pop culture, and as such deserves a spot of recognition. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to learn more about Jessica Rabbit.
Let's start this whole thing off by learning more about who she is. Jessica Rabbit is a secondary character in Who Framed Roger Rabbit whose involvement in the story is essential. She's the wife of the titular Roger, and she's what basically kicks off the whole plot, when Eddie Valiant, the hard-boiled detective hero, is tasked with providing proof that Jessica has been unfaithful to her husband Roger. After Roger sees the photos Eddie took of Jessica playing patty cake with Marvin Acme, the owner of the Acme Corporation, yes, that Acme, Roger flees, which makes him the prime suspect when Acme is found murdered the next day, killed by a safe dropped on his head.
I guess his workplace wasn't very safe. Move on.
Of course, this being a mystery story, that's only the beginning of a long and complicated whodunit, complete with intrigue and misdirection. Jessica is a prime example of that very element, as her character is shown as being very duplicitous throughout most of the film. Her true intentions not revealed until almost a third of the way through the movie.
Jessica has proven to be a long-lasting character in pop culture, what with the amount of people who dress up as her and Roger for Halloween or, say, conventions, the numerous amounts of fan art that has been made of her, and even people who are actually going so far as to surgically alter themselves to look like her. But why? What is it about this character that makes her so memorable ever since the release of the movie?
Well, let's start with the obvious, the sex appeal. Jessica was made to be a sex icon. Literally. She's based off famous film starlets from the golden age of Hollywood, including Rita Hayworth, Marlene Dietrich, Jane Mansfield, and even Lauren Bacall. With her looks, that deep sultry voice, and that body movement, Jessica is as sexy as they come. Even though she's a cartoon character, audiences can't help but get a little hot under the collar when she arrives on the scene.
Of course, if that was all she had to offer, I wouldn't be talking about her, would I? As a matter of fact, the sex appeal actually serves a purpose in the story.
Since Who Framed Roger Rabbit is an affectionate tribute to film noir, naturally it's going to use a lot of concepts found in that genre. Jessica fits perfectly into the role known as the Femme Fatale. She's sexy, uses her sex appeal to her advantage, and her motivations aren't known at first. She's every bit the part and plays it to the hilt. Or does she?
Actually, no, she doesn't. You see, even though she fits the profile of a femme fatale, Jessica is more of a red herring.
A femme fatale in most noir stories is often only out for herself and her own goals. Rarely is a femme fatale ever what she first appears to be. But in the case of Jessica, it's the opposite. Jessica tells the truth from the very beginning, saying that she was forced into the whole situation in order to besmirch Acme, all part of an elaborate scheme involving Toontown, the home of Toons. As a result, while Jessica looks and acts like the typical femme fatale, she really isn't, at least not in the way one is typically seen in fiction.
This actually lends credence to her now famous line.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
She really is. Her appearance is designed to evoke the whole femme fatale trope, both in our universe and in hers. But despite her appearance, she almost completely subverts the trope. This behavior shows that she has hidden depth to her character, and is also likely one of the reasons we adore her so much. Plus, even though she is sexy as hell, she absolutely loves her husband and is willing to do anything possible to help him out. This actually leads to my next point, her relationship with Roger.
This is actually going to be a rather short point, but bears mentioning anyway. In my last video, I mentioned how much Jessica loves Roger. She's extremely devoted to her husband and would do almost anything to help him, even risking her life to clear his name. There's a small moment, often overlooked, where the two hold hands as the dip sprayer gets closer to them. It's a small moment, but it speaks volumes of how much they love each other. But it does still raise a few questions.
Like, why did she marry him? Well, we all know the answer. It's because...
Don't you dare open another tab. Judge of Character will be right back. See, I told you this show would come back.
And as we all know, rabbits are famous for their love lives. But in actuality, the whole idea of Jessica marrying Roger being so just astounding to people actually raises another interesting point. Toon culture.
Some of you might be wondering what in the world the culture of Toons has to do with Jessica Rabbit and why she's a great character. Well, a lot actually. You see, Toon culture, while somewhat similar to ours, has some major differences. One of these is romance and the idea of who lucked out in the relationship.
Many of you have no doubt had that moment in a relationship where you had to stop and wonder who was luckier to have gotten the other. Well, this one thing in regards to Jessica and Roger actually best highlights the differences between both humans and Toons. Humans look at the relationship and they think that Roger was the lucky one who got married to a hottie like Jessica, whereas Toons look at it from the other end of things. They think that Jessica was the one who made out like a thief when she married Roger. But why?
It's simple. Toons value humor above almost anything else. It's their entire life to make others laugh. And in the world of Toons, Roger Rabbit is one of the big shots, on par with Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse. In Toon culture, Roger is a superstar, while Jessica is essentially the Toon equivalent of ugly, ironically. With the exception of a few moments, Jessica isn't a funny Toon, so in the eyes of other Toons, she's the one who hit it big when she married Roger.
But again, what does all this have to do with Jessica being a great character? Well, really it shows that relationships don't have to revolve around looks and can revolve around how two people interact on a personal level. Jessica loves Roger because he makes her laugh and because apparently he's a great lover. But what does all this have to do with the whole asexual point from earlier?
After all, the whole thing that got me started on this was the Tumblr post about Jessica being asexual. Is it true? Could Jessica Rabbit, despite her obvious sexual overtones, be a new icon for asexuality? I'm gonna have to say no on this one, simply for a lack of evidence. Asexuality is described as a lack of sexual attraction and no interest in sexual activity. According to the post, she's asexual because she's in love with a rabbit and apparently never shows interest in anything sexual. However, this doesn't prove she's asexual or not. It simply proves that she loves her husband. As far as not showing interest in sex, this can be explained too.
If you actually sit down and watch the movie again, you'll come to realize that there really wasn't any point in time where Jessica could have been sexual, even if she wanted to. I mean, she was being caught up in the middle of a murder investigation in which her husband was the prime suspect. There's a time and a place, folks.
Now, I should also mention that there's no proof against her being asexual. There's just not enough evidence either way. However, her sexual orientation is of little importance to her status as a great character. So let's sum all this up by recapping what is important.
In the end, what makes Jessica a great character is this. She's an amazing subversion of the character archetype of the Femme Fatale. She's a loving and devoted wife while still maintaining a strong sense of independence. And she's damn gorgeous. With all that in mind, I think it's easy to see why she would be a memorable character. Well, kids, I'm your host, Steve, reminding all of you to stay in character. And here's looking at you, kid.
Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this episode of Judge of Character, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe, and be sure to check out other episodes to see what I have to say about some of your favorite characters. Until next time, stay wicked.